that also ended. So yeah, well,
Fortunately, yeah. And I noticed that you have, a long-standing relation with Andy, from the album, I don't know, Rajaz album, and then you guys, they were very alike in music from my point of view. He participated in a couple of Kayak albums. How
yeah.
do you see the commonality between Kayak music in a way and Camel music, although they're different bands and the tracks are different? They were, for a listener, from my point of view, right? There was a lot of commonality there with both great
There,
bands. Yeah.
there is. The main difference is that from there's a musical similarity between the two. There's a certain kind of style that matches. It's easy for Kayak to play for Andy to play a Kayak song, and it's easy. Well, not easy, but it's for me it's very logical to play Camel songs. But one of the main differences is that Camel is a lot of instrumental, and Kayak is a lot of songs with a lot of vocal.
That's right.
Yeah, and I've every now and then I do write an instrumental piece, but it's not a majority. And with Camel, the majority is instrumental, and the guitar is leading. The guitar is the voice of Camel. And we've always got lead singers, and they changed a lot, of course. And the guitar is not as dominant with Kayak as it is in Camel. That's the main difference. But the musical approach is very similar.
I get you. And in 2000, you guys have the comeback album, The Close to the Fire, which, in my opinion, was the best album of Kayak history. Feel free to elaborate on how the reunion came together to put Kayak again, and how difficult or easy it was to, create an album and then begin getting together again, and then bringing the magic back.
Yeah, well, Tim Koopman and I had always stayed in touch, but he had done a lot of other things, a lot of productions. And I've been concentrating on writing for theater. Of course, I had bands, but it was not important. My main work was writing for theater, and like musicals or background music or whatever. But in the course of the time, the 90s, I've written a couple of songs. And I thought, well, it would be nice, to maybe start a band again. And as Pim Koopman and I had always, stayed in touch, we thought, well, let's try it. But, in 95, there was no record company who was interested in Kayak. We were old. We were, it was not interested. They were not interested anymore. So it took 5 years to get the demos to a company that was interested. And singer Max Werner, who he called us. He said, "I've heard that you've recorded some demos. Can I try it?" So I said, "Yeah, well, no, why not? And as soon as he started singing, we knew we can call the band anything we like, but it's Kayak. There's no escape. So that's the point in 98, 99 that we started to restart Kayak in a way. But that only lasted 1 year. After that album, it was finished with the singer. He couldn't go on. It was too much for him. He had a lot of physical problems, and but we really enjoyed that doing that album. But it took a lot of years before we actually made it into a real album. They were like 5 or 6 years old, the songs on that album.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Looking back at your career, you have participated with Kayak, with Camel, with Air and Fire, and so many other, bands. What's the motivation for you, Tom, to keep on producing good music and good music? It would have been kind of easy to give up and do something else for a living or whatever. but you keep on, let's put this kit together.
You're wrong there. It's not easy to give up and do something else. When you've done something for 40 years,
that's the only thing you know? Or?
It's not possible to find another job, when you're 50 or 60. Try find another job. So you've only, you know music, that's the job, and that's the work, and that's the hobby, and that's your life. That's your passion. Well, my main motivation is creating music, and something, make something that wasn't there before. That has always been my motivation. And I think I could live without playing live, but not creating, that's more difficult for me. So well, my motivation was creating something that wasn't there before, and I had a band that was playing it, so that's why we kept on going.
Gotcha. How important was the working with Inside Out Music since the album 17? The Kayak signed a contract with the company, so I suppose that looking back in your life was very, very important at the time, right?
Well, it gave us a lot of more exposure,
right?
Worldwide, because they have a big machinery behind what they do. They can organize interviews anywhere, and in magazines and whatever, and distribution all over the world is much easier. So in that respect, our name was known better than before, because many people still don't know about Kayak, and I don't know why, but it's just a matter of how the promotion of your band is very important, and with Inside Out it was possible to reach a broader audience.
I got you. Yeah, so more
so in that respect it was important. And we also went on tour in Europe, which didn't, we only played in Holland and sometimes in Belgium, but we were restricted to, a very small audience. And then we got a chance, to go to Sweden, to Germany, to well, whatever, England, and that was nice too. So it was a very positive vibe for the band, to work in. In the end, I don't know, money-wise, it's not much better with the company, because you earn, you have a broader audience, but the revenues are less. And we always we released our albums ourselves, so per CD, per album, you earn more. But it was a good time with Inside Out, and they did a lot of good things, but it's ended now, and it's fine.
I get you. And then I was listening to your solo album, Le Carnaval des Animaux, and to the latest, the Velvet Arbor. Those are very, very good albums. So you still, you still have the magic, and how. So you keep on working, I don't have a band, I don't want to play live, but I want to, I'm a musician, so I need to create, and start putting the music. Those are very, very good albums. How receptive were those albums in the market, I suppose?
Well, they were, I don't know about Carnaval des Animaux. That's a long time ago for me. And that was like a little side step from Kayak. I still had Kayak.
Yeah.
And it was like, this was the Carnaval des Animaux was a classical piece that I played when I did the music academy on double bass. There were ensembles and combos that played classical music, and I was part of that. And I thought, well, it would be nice to have a pop version of Carnaval des Animaux, and that was the reason behind this little sidestep. But after that, I did Heart of the Universe with Chris Rainbow.
Yeah.
I was very glad I could ask him, because I've always been looking for singers, and he was perfect. Well, and then in 2013, I did my first, well, not my first, but a very important album for me, the Lion's Dream, which is the one before Velvet Armor. It's the same idea musically, And that's going back to my classical and Baroque and folk roots, which I have. And I got the opportunity to do that. And, you know, I didn't listen to, or I didn't care about if it was commercial. I just did what I thought I had to do. And that's the main reasons for those albums. This is something that is a big part of me, you know, the classical side, and the medieval and Renaissance and folk as well. And I combined that into some pop arrangements. And they were more personal albums than Kayak albums. You know, Kayak is always a band, and you divide your creativity between the members of the band.
Right.
But this is, you know, if you listen to Velvet Armor and The Lion's Dream, that's me. Whatever.
That's your stuff. Yeah.
And of course, you know, if a band would play it, it would be sounding more like Kayak, of course. But yeah, it's a different approach, because when you play with real musicians, you know, of course, I played with real musicians, flute and violin, fiddle, whatever. But in a band, you have to consider, well, this is the band, and they will sing and play it. So that's the way you write as well. You think, this is the way I want to have to make it sound, and you are constricted to the band. You know, they play a certain style, and that's it. And I found that you know, all the little escapes I made on Kayak albums, people expect a certain sound, a certain approach, certain music. Every now and then I try something else on a Kayak album, and the problem is that not many fans understand that. And for me, that's a pity, because it didn't allow the band to change. You know, every change for fans is difficult. They expect what you already did. But
the old stuff. Keep on doing the old stuff, right?
Well, I make similar albums, but it's impossible for me. I mean, what's the use of doing two Starlight Dancers? What's the use? You know, right. I want to develop, I want to create. And so every album will be different. But in a band like Kayak, you know, you have to make a certain amount of albums. You have to sell. It's not just a hobby, you know. The studio has to be paid. The musicians have to be paid. And so it's always a consideration. Of course, I follow my musical heart, but still, you know, there's a band involved. And on my solo albums, it's just me. And I ask for certain things. I ask certain people, but they're not in a band. You know, I ask them where they need it. So it's a different approach. But you know, I like both. You know, it's just. You can't really compare it, but it's just it's only the same creator behind it. That's you
mentioned the album, the 1984 with Grease Rainbow from Koopman. That's a beautiful album. Very, very nice. Very, very good album.
Thank you.
You know, I like as well. And in 2020 you participated in the Guildmaster project. Together with a member of Samurai and Rafael Paca. Feel free to elaborate, or because you were combining folk and rock element there. Feel free to elaborate on the idea.
In a way, it's a bit similar to Velvet Armor. I've used a couple of musical ideas that were used on the Samurai of Prague and the Guildmaster albums for my own album, because you know, I was working on that, and Kimmo, he asked me, can you write something for us? I said, yeah, I've got this. So, and I played it in my studio. And the fun thing was that 2 years ago, we both had a house in Greece. I was living half of the year, I was living in Greece.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that. And he lived like 2 hours drive from us. And so we went for a visit to him, and it was very, very nice. But it was a surprise, because he comes from Finland. He lives in Greece for most of the year. I come from Holland. I lived in Greece. There's an Italian, Marco, who lives in Finland. So, but it was nice to work on that album. Yeah, on those albums, and especially because they asked me to write something. And if you ask me to write something, I do that.
Any looking back in your Kayak career, any particular album that you are looking back more satisfied with, or well, there are different albums, but anyone that they look back and say, man, that was from Tom's point of view, that's the best album that we ever had or we ever did.
I think from the first period, I think it's Royal Bed Bouncer. That's the first adult album. If you mean adult, grown-up album.
Grown-up album, right? Yeah.
Adult album is something different, but it's the first album that we were grown up. We were developing our own style and not copying, the grand old bands from those days like Yes or Genesis. And we never intended to copy them, but of course you hear the influences in the first albums. And with Royal Bed Bouncer, we found our own voice, I can tell you. And the funny thing is that with Bouncer, the record company wasn't happy with the sales of the previous albums, the Cici the Sun and Kayak 2. So they send us back to a studio with only 16 track. We always worked on 24 track, and they said, no, you go back to the 16 track. It's cheaper for us, and you do that. You record the album there, so we could do less overdubs. But in the end, it was a very good thing to do, because the album has a lot of energy, and we had to restrict ourselves to. In the arrangements, we couldn't, do 1,000 overdubs. It was limited, and in hindsight, it was a good idea. So
yeah. But
the second part, I think, in a musical and also lyrical way, I think the two rock operas were our best, Nostradamus and Cleopatra.
Oh, absolutely. That was my next question. You have Nostradamus, Cleopatra, Merlin, all they're that masterpieces. Those albums.
Thank you. Yeah, we tried to change. We tried to broaden our horizon. We wanted to play in theaters, and our music can be very dramatic and very theatrical. And we wanted to use that, and make a rock opera that we could also perform live, if money would allow it, with an orchestra, whatever, and lots of staging, and that was our idea to work from. But money was a problem, I can tell you. But as an album, I think those two, especially the last two rock operas, were belong to our best work.
Yeah. And you also have done over 50 musicals, right? For you, theater and film scene have been very, very important. You want to continue doing that?
I still work for one theater. In Holland, there's a tradition on stage. It's called cabaret, but it's not the cabaret that you will understand. There's usually it's one guy. In my case, it's one guy who tells a story, and it's like a stand-up comedian, but not really. He tells a story. It's not only jokes. He tells a story from beginning to the end, and there is also music involved and songs, and he's singing, and he is basically the most popular guy in his field in Holland. So he's playing 4 nights a week, sold out in Holland. In Holland alone, in Belgium. And I have the luck to be, he asked me in 1984, he wasn't very well known then, and he was making an album. Bert Ruiter, he produced this guy, Joep van het Hek, and we got in touch, and we talked, and he was doing his first solo program then in the theater. He asked, "Can you make music for me?" I said, "Yes, of course." So we try, and that's 36 years ago now, and we still, we have. he's done like 25 programs since then, shows. And every program does a couple of songs and a lot of music for me. And the next 1.5 years, I will be playing with him live on stage. That's my touring.
What about music for commercial soundtracks? You have
not so much. I did a movie in Holland called Spetters. But no, I've been mainly working in theaters and for writing for musical and for family shows, for musicals that were designed for the whole family, so from children to grown-ups.
Yeah.
And I've done lots of those, and it was a good, nice to do. I was able to be creative, and it was. I don't do it anymore. Only the guy that I just told you about.
Yeah.
But I did lots of that, and well, it added to my experience as a musician, as a composer. Because those musicals, they are not your typical musicals, but sometimes the story is in the in medieval times, or in Spain, or it could be in Russia. So all that kind of music I explored, and I used it in the musicals.
Okay. Any possibility of bringing Kayak back again, or is
we just stopped? We did our last tour in May. So it's August now. It's a bit early to talk about the comeback. At the moment, no, I don't think so. Maybe, for special projects, it's possible, to come together and do something. But, just do a new album and a new tour, I don't think so.
Yeah. And, you've been collaborating with Andy for many years. And actually, Camel will start touring in next April or May in Spain. I think they will start in April, if I remember correctly. Because I interviewed Colin Bass, and he told me, I think they will start in Spain. And do you, since you get along very well with Andy, is any possibility of the two of you,
I don't think
doing some recording?
They have a very good keyboard player, Pete Jones. He's fantastic, and
he's very good. Yeah.
Well, he flies. So they will go everywhere with him. And I don't expect them to ask me to play along, and on top of that, I have my work here, and I have 1.5 year touring in front of me after September, in Dutch and Belgium theaters. So I don't even think there's time for me to do it if he asked me. But I don't think he will ask me. It's a 4-piece band, and he's happy with the current lineup. So asking me is a problem. I think it takes a lot of organizing. I could be a guest, if I'm here, maybe, I don't know. But I'm not part of Camel anymore.
I got you.
In my head, I am, but in reality, I'm not.
Yeah, hopefully I will have the opportunity to talk to Andy one day, and because he's a hero of mine as well. So you will start the tour, you say, in a year and a half, in the fall, September?
Yeah, but only Dutch and Belgium theaters, with this cabaret.
Cabaret, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in the background, but it's very nice work, and it allows me to do other things as well. And so, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Well, hopefully I will have the opportunity to see you playing. I never saw you playing with Kayak, right? But hopefully I will be able to see you playing.
Come to Europe.
No, I go to Europe like 3 or 4 times a year. Mostly.
You should have seen us then.
Yeah, mostly London. I go to see.
Okay. Well, we've played in London 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah,
well, hopefully we'll have but if I don't see you with the Kayak, I may see you with the cabaret thing, and
who knows? Yeah.
If they continue, and so your journey is like a good bottle of wine, a good bottle of Chilean wine. You're getting better and more refined with time, man. So that's the beautiful.
Thank you very much.
It was very nice talking to you, Don. Good luck to you, and I hope to meet you one day and see you play live somewhere.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Have a
Okay.
good day.
Okay. Bye bye.